So this guy, Mike Johnson, is like an AI-generated Republican. He's now the new Speaker of the House. And the reason why he became the Speaker of the House is very simple. All of the other people whose names were in the conversation, it's kind of like high school, and you have your little cliques, and people hate each other, right? They are so petty and vindictive and catty with each other. And so basically this guy, Mike Johnson, is just sort of sitting in the corner, and everybody kind of likes him from all the different factions, you know, the Gates-Boebert faction and the Marjorie Taylor Greene and the McCarthy faction. Everybody liked him enough. So they're like, all right, let's give it old Mike. And so this guy comes out of total obscurity, random Republican senator. And what became very obvious very quickly is that, on policy and on worldview and philosophy, this guy's a total psychopath. So he's perfect to lead the Republicans because, you know, they're out to lunch. But some more stuff has been uncovered from Mike Johnson's old interviews. And oh boy, is it a doozy.
Comes as a CNN K-File review of more than 100 of the new speaker's interviews and speeches, is giving us a clear and a stark look at his views on crucial things like gay rights and abortion, including this, which likens abortion to the Holocaust.
It is truly an American Holocaust. I mean, the reality is that Planned Parenthood and all these big abortion, they set up their clinics in inner cities. They are, they regard these people as easy prey. I mean, it's true. This is what's happening across the country now.
Holocaust. Abortion is a Holocaust. Never mind the fact that the overwhelming majority of abortions in this country, it's something like 98% happen before 22 weeks, pre-viability. And it's like 80% that happens before 12 weeks. So we're talking about gametes and zygotes and pre-gestation fetuses and no nervous system creation, no pain, like totally different. And he calls it a Holocaust. We're just getting started.
K-File's Andrew Kulinski joins me now. And Andrew, what else have you found? You've looked through hundreds of interviews.
Yeah, that's right. The new House Speaker is unknown to a lot of people. He was selected pretty much overnight. There was no vetting process. He doesn't even come from a competitive district, so he's never really had a real race. So we went through hundreds of his interviews, radio, television, op-eds to see what does Mike Johnson really believe. And one of the most interesting things that we found was on the day that Roe v. Wade was struck down, he called into a conservative talk radio show. And I think the second biggest piece of news that day, besides Roe, was Clarence Thomas's concurring opinion, where he said we should revisit the rulings that struck down that allowed same-sex marriage, that allowed contraceptions, that legalized gay sex. And this was an opinion that was so far out there that even the very conservative Supreme Court wasn't willing to go along with this. Thomas wrote that opinion alone. But Johnson actually very, very strongly endorses this opinion from Thomas. He defends it. Take a listen to him right here on that day.
There's been some really bad law made. They've made a mess of our jurisprudence in this country for the last, several decades. And maybe some of that needs to be cleaned up. And what Justice Thomas is calling for is not radical. In fact, it's the opposite of that.
So let's be clear. What this guy is saying is we should go back to a time where gay marriage wasn't legal. We should go back to a time where gay sex wasn't legal. My guess is he would say, although Thomas stopped short of saying this, gee, I wonder why, but right, part and parcel with those opinions is we should go back to a time before interracial marriage was legal. That's what this guy's saying. And he's going, that's not radical. That's not radical at all, bro. Oh, it's not. Have you seen the public opinion polls on literally any of those things? You absolutely have the radical position. And the moderate position is pro-gay marriage, pro-interracial marriage, pro being okay with consenting adults having gay sex in their own bedroom if they so please. I remember that opinion from Clarence Thomas, and it was absolutely psychotic. They also want to allow states to ban birth control, where they, a conservative state could just say, we're not going to allow any birth control here. You could even allow, hey, no condoms allowed here. This is what they want. They want each state, especially the conservative states, to be their own little far-right authoritarian fiefdoms. That's what he supports.
Now, we should note his office told us that he views those cases as settled law, but we did find another instance in our story in 2015 where it's during the presidential election, and he actually says that the new president can appoint justices that might overturn same-sex marriage.
Right. And we know, what people say is settled law is not what they necessarily think of the law. All right, Speaker Johnson has a history of anti-gay rhetoric. You have unearthed much of this, supporting anti-gay policies, very clearly doing so, and you found out more about his personal views.
Yeah, that's right. Homosexuality was something that Johnson talked about a lot over the years in what we reviewed. He called it inherently...
Which, by the way, anybody who talks about this that much, anybody who's obsessed with this issue, anybody who can't get it off their mind, I think you know where I'm going with this. We've seen this play before. We've seen the hardcore anti-gay politician or the hardcore anti-gay televangelist or pastor, and usually they get caught slobbing on a Nobbington. Ted Haggard, Larry Craig, like all these guys. I hate, it's disgusting. It's unnatural. It's not right. You know how they do it.
Natural. He said it was a dangerous lifestyle. We found a clip where he supported a ban on gay adoptions, where he said that homosexuality was a behavior, and because of that, it wasn't protected from anti-discrimination laws. And that sort of goes into this next clip that I want to play, which is him discussing what he thinks the proper role of government is. Listen to what he said here.
One of the primary purposes of the law and civil government is to restrain evil. We have to acknowledge collectively that man is inherently evil and needs to be restrained. That's the problem with the radical left. They don't acknowledge a God.
Jesus Christ, what a dim, dark view of humanity. He just said it. He said he thinks human beings are, quote, inherently evil. And that's why you need God. I don't no. Now, to be fair, that doesn't just have to be a religious view. There are plenty of secular atheistic people who would say, I think human beings are inherently evil. I don't know where people get that from. Obviously, it's a mix. Obviously, human nature has a little bit of everything in it. Obviously, there are some people who are very good by their nature. There are some people who are very bad by their nature. But most of us are a mix of both good and bad. And, what determines what brings that out? It's your upbringing. It's your environment. It's, do you have good role models? Like, how did you learn and develop? There are environmental factors that go into that. There are also genetic and innate factors that go into that. But obviously, humans are both good and bad simultaneously, right? And each individual is usually both good and bad. It's very rare you get somebody who's pure good and very rare you get somebody who's pure evil. We're both good and bad. But his view, his religious worldview, is human beings are inherently evil. And when he says we need government to, restrain evil, let's be clear. What he means is restraining evil would mean, banning gay marriage, banning gay sex, banning gay adoption, enforcing a very authoritarian, strict worldview on social issues where it's they leave it to Beaver family. One man, one woman, white picket fence, a dog, 2.5 kids. You know the whole drill. Because, if you say government's about restraining evil in the sense that, hey, we shouldn't allow murder, totally agree, of course. Yes, in a very strict and literal sense, I would say government should restrain evil as well. But when he says it, he means we need to control people's social lives to be in line with my fundamentalist Christian worldview. That I could not disagree with more. My perspective is, on social issues, live and let live. I don't want big government getting in your bedroom and poking around for no goddamn reason. So on social issues, freedom, baby. And then on economic issues, I like having regulation and social safety nets to give people a fairly equal playing field and give them a chance. His worldview is the exact opposite. On the economy, dog-eat-dog world, capitalism is what it is, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But on social issues, forget it. I want to ban anything that's a little bit outside the norm of the white evangelical Christian framework. So God, man, this guy... and they go on to point out here, and I'll just tell you, we don't need to watch the rest of it, but they go on to point out he came out in support of a law that made it so that not only is abortion illegal, it's from the moment of conception, and it's without rape and incest provisions where they say those we make exceptions. So, in other words, literally all abortion from the second you're done having sex. Like, he would ban the morning after pill if he could. That's what this guy is. So this guy is as extreme gets. And he is now the new face of the Republicans in the House. So stop and think about who the faces of the party are. At the very top, you have who? Donald Trump's leading by 1.5 miles in the Republican primary. A guy with 91 criminal charges. A guy who's bragging about how authoritarian he's going to be in his second term. Bragging about the fact he's going to do Project 2025. A guy who still denies the 2020 election. Tried to steal an election, but accuses others of trying to steal the election. He's the head guy, and then right underneath him, you got this religious psychopath. Not too dissimilar from Mike Pence. And now this person controls the Republicans in the House. So, Jesus Christ. And the Democrats are not up for the bar fight you're going to need to take down these. They're just not. You know, Joe Biden is barely alive. The Democrats in the House are, with the exception of some members of the squad, I mean, they're weak and useless and meek and nebbish. Oh, we're in such a bad place, man, and this makes it so clear. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.